So you're a parent, right? And at some point, you've probably thought about giving your kid the gift of music. Piano lessons, guitar, singing, all that good stuff that builds discipline and creativity. But then you actually start looking for a teacher, and bam, the first thing that hits you is the price tag. And that brings up a really important practical question.
Sounds a little crazy, doesn't it? I mean, how could paying less each week actually cost you more down the road? Well, believe it or not, that's exactly the paradox we're going to dig into today. And I have a feeling the answer is going to completely change how you think about your child's education.
All right, let's get right into the numbers. We're going to peel back that weekly price tag and really look at the actual long-term value. Okay, so at first glance, the choice seems pretty straightforward, right? On one hand, you've got the budget-friendly teacher, maybe a local college student who charges a lot less per lesson. And on the other hand, you have the expert instructor. We're talking advanced degrees, professional experience, and yeah, they understandably charge more. It really feels like a simple trade-off between cost and quality. But trust me, the real story here is all about what happens over time. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. This table just completely reframes the whole conversation. See, we're not just looking at the weekly cost anymore, we're looking at the total cost to reach the very same goal. So let's say that goal is playing a specific piece of music. With the less experienced teacher at $40 a week, it could take, get this, 4 years to get there. But now look at the expert instructor. Yeah, they're double the price per week, but they get your child to that same exact milestone in just 6 months. When you actually run the numbers on the total cost, wow, it's not even close. So what's the bottom line here? By going with the expert, you don't just save 3.5 years of your kid's time, you save $3,600. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That quote-unquote cheaper lesson, yeah, it was never actually cheaper at all. But, as we're about to find out, the real cost, it isn't just about the money. You see, there's this hidden cost, and honestly, it can be way more frustrating than just losing money. It's the time and the sheer energy that gets wasted having to unlearn bad habits. So, what kind of bad habits are we talking about? Well, it's these really foundational problems that can sneak in with less experienced teachers. Things like, a poor hand position, which doesn't just look bad, it can lead to strain and totally cap a student's potential. Or terrible sight reading skills, which basically means they can never just pick up some new music and have fun playing it. See, the problem isn't just about learning slowly, it's about learning the wrong way from the start. And that's a much, much bigger deal. And this timeline, man, it really shows you the damage. A new expert teacher might have to spend anywhere from 6 months to an entire year just fixing the mistakes from before. Can you imagine that? That is a whole year where your child is basically stuck in neutral, just unlearning stuff, before they can even think about moving forward again. The amount of frustration for a student in that spot is it's huge. Okay, so what does it look like when you get it right from the very beginning? Let's talk about that expert advantage, what it means to build a rock-solid foundation from day one. This right here, this is the path you want to be on. You start with expert instruction. That builds a really strong base in technique and theory. And that foundation is what turns into a lifelong skill and, maybe most importantly, a real love for music instead of a source of frustration. The whole point is to build momentum right from the start, not to spend years just playing catch-up. And that brings me to what I think is the best way to think about this whole decision. Look, this isn't just a weekly expense for some hobby. This is a long-term investment in a skill. And with any big investment, you've got to choose your builder very, very wisely. Think about it like this. Would you ever hire a total amateur to pour the foundation of your house just to save a few bucks? No way, right? Of course not, because you know the integrity of the entire house depends on getting that foundation absolutely perfect. Well, it is the exact same idea when it comes to a musical education. And this quote, it just nails it. You pay for a master builder, not just for the beautiful house they build, but for all the headaches and problems they prevent down the line. A musical foundation that's built right from day one is strong, it's efficient, and it means you're not going to need those expensive, super frustrating repairs later on. So when it comes down to it, as you're making this choice for your child, the real question has nothing to do with the weekly price. It's about what you're actually building. Are you just throwing up a temporary shed that's probably going to need a ton of fixing? Or are you investing in a lasting foundation, one that can support a whole lifetime of creativity and joy? In the end, that choice is up to you.